Mindset and motherhood, mystery and ministry. You were never meant to remain frozen. You were meant to rise, rewrite, and be redeemed. And in this space, we will explore it all. Welcome to the Ink and Redemption podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Glass. And welcome back to my podcast. This podcast has been on my mind since the summer. This is the one podcast that has kind of gummed up the works a little bit. I meant to put this out much earlier. I meant to put out several more podcasts prior to this one because this is okay, if you know anything about people who procrastinate or people who have ADHD, sometimes we will blow up an idea in our brain to these mythic proportions where I want to do this podcast, this particular episode, so much. I want this episode to be so perfect that I got trapped out of fear that I'm going to wreck it. And my dog, excuse my dog's butt. He just stretched when he got up. So I have this part of my journey that I have been wanting to share. I've shared a little bit about it, little nooks and crannies. I have a blog that's coming out the same day this podcast is coming out. So if you prefer to read about it, you can read about it. My journey back to the church. This is what this podcast is about. Let me start at the beginning. I am a cradle Catholic. I had all of my sacraments relatively on time. We moved a couple of times so that it kind of pushed back my confirmation a little bit. My father's biggest thing always was get confirmed, and then you decide if you want to stay in the church or not. He's like, I only ask you go through confirmation. And so I did. Now, I wish I could say that I had done my sacraments with the same bravado and fire that I have for the church and for Christ and for all of my faith then that I do now, but I don't. And I know a lot of people feel like you should get confirmed if you really feel it, and that's just going through the motions because that's what your family wants isn't a good thing. But I'm going to argue that it actually ended up being the best thing. I wasn't super into it. I was racing towards that finish line because at that point my father felt I was old enough to make my own decisions. I didn't have to go to church anymore. I didn't have to do that, this, that, or the other. And so that's it, I'm done. So I picked out my patron saint, went through all of the motions, and some of the reason a lot of people fall away from the church isn't the church, it's actually the people in the church. And I was in CCD at the time. When I came into the church for practice, we were with the Catholic school kids. Now, there was a woman there who was coordinating the whole thing. I didn't know her. I only knew my CCD people and my church because this was actually in a different parish. When we would practice, she literally would call us CCD students part-time Catholics. So that really grated on my nerves. And I was like, how dare you say something like that? Just because I don't go to the school doesn't make me any more or less Catholic. Now, see, I still, after all those years away from the church, I still very much considered myself Catholic. And so I went and I had my confirmation, and then I fell away from the church. And I've got my notes on my computer next to me so that I don't forget anything in particular. Okay, now I'm really going to date myself. This was the late 80s. Yes, I'm 50. I'm going to be 51 in March. But anyway, So I was a big reader. I loved reading. And about the same time that I went through the confirmation, I found this odd little bookstore. It wasn't really just books, it had all kinds of stuff in it. Now, again, this is late 80s. So these bookstores, these types of stores, weren't common. They were fringe. They were pretty fringe in this building called a mart. And I believe that marts were the precursors to the mall, which are dying out now. And that's sad because, growing up in the 80s and 90s, the mall was the place. So this cool place called the Mart had this funky little bookstore, and it was an occult bookstore. It was new age. It had all that. And there was a particular book that caught my attention, and it was about lucid dreaming. Now, I love sleeping. I've always loved sleeping. I still love sleeping. It's where I get a lot of my ideas for my stories because I am a writer. And so when I saw this little book, I think it was actually a combination lucid dreaming, astral travel. So it sort of lumped it in kind of the same thing. And I thought, well, learning to control your dreams sounds pretty awesome. So I bought it because, well, I love books. And so I don't need much of an excuse to buy a new book. So here I am reading this book. And here you go, folks. This was my gateway to the occult. So, yeah, so that was my through dreams because I love dreaming. And that just began many, 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 many years search to go deeper and deeper and deeper into the occult to find the hidden knowledge, which is what occult means, hidden knowledge. And, because I felt like I was scratching the surface of a whole world of unknown that I wanted to know. The thing about the occult, and they don't tell you that, is it's a hole that you're trying to fill. And you keep learning new things, digging deeper, learning new religions, learning it all because you're trying to fill up this hole. It's a bit like chasing the dragon. You're always looking, chasing, running towards something that there is no end to it. It could go on and on and on and on. And that hole just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And the need to fill it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I don't know if you've ever saw Romeo is Bleeding. There was a movie that came out really early 90s with Gary Oldman and Lena Olin. And I loved this movie. But he had this need to fill the whole. He was a dirty cop, and he would, so if you don't know it, he would take, odd jobs, and he would get paid, obviously, in cash under the table. He didn't spend it. He buried it in this hole in his yard, and he just fill the hole, fill the hole, fill the hole. Well, that is exactly what the new age is like, just filling this hole that will never, ever get filled up, because you don't realize while you're in it that there is only one thing that can fill this hole, and that is Jesus. So now I didn't jump right back into Christianity. I was really into meditating. I love meditating. And I'm not going to be sitting here telling you that I had this deep meditation and I came across demons or something, because that's never happened to me. I credit my guardian angel, because every time I would go into one of those deeper meditations, I would just fall asleep. I would write out in this morning, and I'm like, well, I guess I didn't meditate. I just went to sleep. I give all props to my guardian angel for that one. So anyway, so I'm deep into meditation, and this book just like kept appearing, and it was called Interior Castles by St. Teresa of Ávila. And I was like, this is a nun. So I of course love books. I bought the book. And coming back, I bought this book, and I had it for a really long time. It's, Interior Castles by Saint Teresa, and it was just sitting there. And it was just sitting there. Um, uh, I read tons of books. I read there was what was the name of that one book? A Course in Miracles, that is supposedly grounded in Christianity. I do have to give it credit. It did start me thinking about Christianity again, though I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because you just get the Bible, read the Bible. So, and then it kind of led me in that direction. That's what I did. I started reading the Bible. And then finally I sat down and I started reading Interior Castles. And I'm going to be very honest, when I first started reading it, the way that she talked down about herself was like, yeah, see, this is why I'm not into the church, blah, blah, blah. They treat women a certain way, blah, blah, blah. And, you find out later that that's very not true. And women are extremely important. They just have different roles, Thank you. They have different roles, and that's fine. Now, I understand that now. I did not understand it then. So I still put the book down, go back to doing all of my other new agey stuff. I got into the mindset world, and I started doing all of the, like tapping, which there's nothing wrong with tapping, and human design, and like your Enneagram. And then I started, like, I got a Bible. Now this was it was the New Living Translation. So I wasn't back to Catholic, but I was inching there slowly. So I got a Bible, I started reading it, and I started repairing my relationship with what I thought the Catholic Church was, what I thought church meant as far as women. And so it was a slow, and then that book, the Interior Castles, kept calling me, and I would read it a little bit more, would open up my mind a little bit more, and I could look more past the way that she would talk down to herself. And one day, my husband has a story, and I'm going to get him onto this podcast because I want him to talk about it too. He has a story. It's even cooler than my story, I think. But anyway, he ended up going back to church. I'm going to let him tell that story. And he was like, why don't you talk to this priest? He can help you through, any questions that you have. Because I was questioning things. I did want to come back in some kind of a capacity. I was actually looking at some of the other churches and thinking about going to them. But he's like, we're Catholic. And we are. And I was married in a Catholic church. And I'm just very fallen away. And so I did end up sitting down with that priest. And we had phenomenal conversations. I walked out of there feeling like I've never felt before. I had an exorcist and everything. He performed like this mini exorcist. And I was like, man, I'm on track. My stepson was discerning coming into the Catholic Church. And so I thought, okay, well, I told him, I'm like, all right, well, I'll do RCIA with you. This was called RCIA at the time. This was like 3 years ago. They changed the name since then. And I was like, I'll go through it with you. I'll be your sponsor. Or no, I'm not going to be your sponsor. I'm just going to go through the classes with you because I want to be reintroduced to everything. And so we're going through it. I'm learning things. I still have some sticky points that I was having issues with. I'm going to get into all of the sticky points throughout the year. I figure I'm going to do the other Christian sticky points and then my unfortunate, well, I wouldn't say I was a feminist, but pretty close. Some of those sticky points and how I got through them. And I am going to really dive into each one of those once a month. Because now that I'm getting this podcast out of the way, because this is also leading into, I have a project that's coming out in February. It's going to be my first course. I'm really excited. and it has everything to do with this, what we're talking about. So came time for my son to pick out his patron saint. And I cannot pronounce her name, so I'm not going to slaughter it online. I'll say it another time. But I had to dig out all of our paperwork and my paperwork. And lo and behold, when I pulled out my sacrament papers, that's when I realized my patron saint was Saint Teresa of Ávila. And I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't remember that because I was just in such a hurry to get through it that I never even gave it another thought. I liked the name. But here she was. When I realized who my patron saint, who my confirmation saint was, that's when I realized that, oh my gosh, she had been talking to me all of this time to lead me back to the church. And that little book, Interior Castles, did just that. And that's why I'm launching a mindset course in February. So I would love it if you wanted to join me. You can sign up for my 5-day devotional right now, and then you'll be on my mailing list. So between my guardian angel keeping me safe from whatever the occult could have thrown at me, and Saint Teresa, whether or not she was patiently calling me back or impatiently calling me back, I won't ever know, but I'm back. And I have not been happier, because even when I was doing the mindset work in the new age realm, like with manifesting and whatnot, still that hole that I was still trying to fill. And I don't have that hole anymore. And of course I still get like depressed here and there, or overwhelmed or stressed out. Of course, that's never going to go away. But what I have is an army of good behind me who prop me up and who helped me through it. And I realized over the summer that I have to share this. I have to share it with everyone. So that's why I started the podcast. So this podcast is going to be all of the things that I do, along with my training, my NLP, my modern applied psychology. NLP is neuro-linguistic programming, because the brain is such an amazing tool that it can be trained to be happier. It was literally hijacked by this new age ideology, and you're meant to believe that this is some kind of magic when it's not even close. It is literally how God designed you. And all of those outside influences, they are negatively impacting you, all the way from your food, the cartoons that are out today, the movies, the commercials, the education system. Everything is designed specifically to keep you medicated in the same school district that what did Rockefeller say? He's like, I don't want a nation of free thinkers. I want a nation of workers. We're going to get in all of that through this year. 2026 is going to be not only just the history that's being made out there right now, which is incredible, but we're going to take back what God gave us. And I'm here to help you because it's my mission. This is my mission. And next month, I'm going to launch a program where you can work directly with me. I will be with you through the whole thing. In the meantime, you have my podcast, you have my free 5-day devotional, and I'm going to have freebies left and right to help you, because we are meant to be happy. We are not meant to be miserable. We are not meant to be medicated. We are not meant to be eating that garbage that is not food. I might even show you my sourdough dirty. At any rate, that was my story. That's how I came back to the church. I look forward to sharing more of what I've been learning. I have ADHD. I have not conquered that yet, but maybe when I do, I will share how I do that too. But anyway, as always, you are the beloved daughter of the Lord. He loves you, and I love you. And don't forget to check me out. I'm still in the middle of my 30-day live stream event. I just did day 7, Monday, January 5th. So you can hop on to YouTube to check me out there. And I will be in as many places as I can get myself into so that I can help you. I love you. He's directly in my seat. How does this look? Does this look good? Don't lick my face. Yes. Sorry, I'm going to play it back.